Okay, so we're going to dive into a really powerful way to think about taking back control of your life. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with one single sentence, a sentence that caused a lot of online drama.
So here it is, no woman wants a vulnerable man. They'll tell you they do, but they'll resent you the moment you show any sign of weakness. Now, when this was posted on social media, it just blew up. And the guy who wrote it was actually kind of surprised because to him, this wasn't some radical, out there idea.
So what's the deal here? Is this statement just flat out controversial, or is there something deeper going on that people are missing? See, the real issue isn't really the statement itself. It's how we all have this almost gut reaction to one specific word, vulnerability. So in this explainer, we're going to pull apart the ideas packed into this sentence and see how it all leads to a roadmap for taking total ownership of your life.
Okay, so the first big idea here is about the vulnerability debate. The source basically argues that the real problem is, well, it's us. We've kind of lost the ability to have real, deep conversations. We see a trigger word, we get hung up on it, and we react before we even stop to think, wait, what is this person actually trying to say?
And this slide, this is where it gets really interesting. It completely reframes the whole argument. On the left, you've got what people heard, complaining, weakness, just emotionally dumping on someone. But on the right, that's what was actually meant, being honest, finding a path forward, and presenting a solution. See, the author wasn't saying be a robot with no feelings. Not at all. He was saying, hey, don't just throw your problems at your partner with no plan. Instead, be humble, be honest, but always come with a solution or at least an idea for a path forward. Because if you don't, he argues, it just comes across as complaining.
And this is the real heart of the issue. The real problem is that we react to the word before we even try to understand the meaning behind it. It's that emotional knee-jerk reaction that stops us from having those deeper conversations. Instead of asking, hey, what do you mean by that? We just default to our own definition, and boom, the conversation is over before it even had a chance to begin.
All right, let's keep building on this, because the conversation is about to shift from just communication to something way, way deeper. We're talking about the core driver of a man's life, his purpose.
Think about this for a second. On July 4th, 1776, look at how old the Founding Fathers were. James Monroe, 18. Alexander Hamilton, 21. Thomas Jefferson, 33. These guys were shockingly young. They weren't sitting around waiting for life to happen to them. They were fueled by this massive, powerful purpose that was bigger than themselves. They were literally fighting for something at an age where, today, we're often told, don't grow up too fast.
And this JFK quote really hits it home. Do not pray for easy lives. Pray to be stronger men. The idea here is that a lot of the struggles we see today, things like depression and anxiety, they don't necessarily come from a lack of sharing our feelings. They come from a lack of a driving mission. When you give men something meaningful, something purpose-driven to do, a lot of those other problems, they just start to fade away.
And that's the key distinction right there. A man who has a purpose and a plan, he doesn't need to be vulnerable in the way people reacted to it. He's already being honest, and he's already strong. Why? Because his strength comes from his mission, from his plan. It doesn't come from looking for validation by complaining. He can be totally honest, even humble, because his identity isn't threatened by whatever challenges he's facing.
So if a life of purpose is the goal, what's the alternative? Well, the source calls it the victim mindset. And here's the crazy part. It's something our brains are literally wired for. So the victim mindset is this neurological pattern of self-preservation. Basically, we blame outside factors so we don't have to risk being seen as incompetent. And this goes way back. It's a hardwired tribal instinct. For most of human history, if you were seen as incompetent, you risked getting kicked out of the tribe, which could literally be a death sentence. So to protect ourselves, our brains create stories, excuses, and we place blame to convince not only others, but ourselves that we're still valuable, that we still belong.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. It's the fundamental shift. On one side, the victim mindset, blaming others, looking for excuses, feeling hopeless, saying, this happened to me. But then you have the ownership mindset, taking responsibility, looking for solutions, feeling empowered, and saying, I created this. That moment, for almost anyone who's ever turned their life around, is when they stop blaming everyone else and finally take full ownership. It's that moment you can finally look in the mirror and say, yep, I am where I am because of me. I created this.
And that is such a crucial point. Taking ownership, it can be a tough pill to swallow at first, but it's also the key that unlocks your own power.
You feel miserable not because you don't know there's a problem. You feel miserable because you do know there's a problem and you're not doing anything about it. Taking ownership is what ends that misery.
Okay, so taking ownership is step one. It's the most important step. But once you've made that mental shift, what's next? Well, here's a practical blueprint for actually rebuilding.
I love this metaphor. Think of your life like an old garage. It's got good bones, a solid foundation, right? You don't need to bulldoze the whole thing and start from scratch. The first step is just to be radically honest about what's broken. And then, and this is key, just pick one thing to fix first. Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your finances. But the amazing thing is, it's all connected. When you start to fix that one area, you'll be shocked at how it strengthens everything else. Your health gets better, and suddenly you have more energy for your relationships and your work.
And when we're talking about relationships specifically, the source lays out these habits that are all built on that foundation of ownership. First, eliminate the vices that are getting in the way, whether it's porn, drinking too much, whatever. Second, actually structure time to communicate. Don't just hope it happens. Third, be fully expressed but not weak. That means being honest about how you feel without it turning into a complaint session. And finally, and this is a big one, celebrate your partner for who they are, the good and the challenging, instead of always trying to fix them.
This leads us to a huge question, one that I think haunts a lot of us. After all this, how do you make up for lost time? We all look back at mistakes, at years we feel like we wasted, and there's this desperate urge to go back and fix it.
The answer from the source is incredibly blunt and powerful. You don't.
You just don't. Trying to make up for the past is a trap. It keeps you stuck right there. You'll just waste even more time and energy trying to fix something that is already done and gone. The only real path forward is to acknowledge what happened, learn the lesson from it, apologize if you have to, and then you close the chapter. You put a period at the end of that sentence, because the only thing you have any control over is who you choose to be today. That's it. That's all that matters. And really, that's what this whole idea boils down to. It's about taking ownership, not just of your past mistakes, but of your entire future. And it starts this very moment. What's done is done. So the real question is, what is the one chapter in your life that you need to close today so you can finally start building a better tomorrow?